How's everybody doing? How are you guys doing?
Very good. We've been having a good time. Well, we've been here for what? One night. Yeah. But so far, so good.
And first ClexaCon, right?
Yes. Thank you so much for having us.
So, I mean, I could give introductions, but I think they already know you guys.
Do you? Did you think this was the one other panel? But if you could all introduce yourselves. And go.
Yeah. And done, we're done. So I'd love to know from you guys, like, first ClexaCon, what are your thoughts so far?
I'm amazed at just the amount of heart and love from everyone here, and it's a really great thing to be a part of. And thank you for inviting us. I'm so happy to see so many strong women and women that talk about enjoying strong female characters. And I had a meet and greet this morning, and we talked a lot about that. And it's just, it is a delight.
Isn't it? This is one of my favorite cons because it's just so empowering. You go to other cons and you're just like, oh, I'm the token in the room. Like, I'm so the token in the room. And then it's here to like, oh, I'm around amazing, wonderful women.
No, this is fucking great.
It's great.
It's great.
One, we're gonna start counting cussing.
Yeah.
I'll let it rip. You know I will.
Oh, I'm horrible, so we could get a swear jar. Like, no, it's not your first time.
It's my third.
It's definitely not her first time swearing.
Not at all. No.
Trust me on
Came
that.
out of the womb swearing, right?
Absolutely. No, you guys know how much I love this con. I love to talk to everyone. I like to mingle. I like to stay out too late. Whose fault is that? Right there.
Which definitely did not happen last night.
My
She
God.
won't even say how late she stayed out last night. She's like, you know what, I didn't look, which is code for probably 4, I'm assuming.
You didn't go to bed, right? You just rolled right into today.
Defying bed. Yes.
Craps table? That's a bed, right?
Just a wee bit of crap table, but you know. No, it was a blast, and I just had such a good time. You guys are great. Thank you so much. You're always so generous to me. It's my trip to the mall. I love it.
So we're here to talk Nikki and Nora, what I love about this is that you guys were kind of the forefront of bringing something back from being canceled or just
death.
I was trying to be nice about it.
We actually did
now
get canceled. We just never got
picked up. But the interesting factor is this is now a fact. Like, this is like, let's just bring back everything in the kitchen sink. And I'd love to know from all of you guys, like, how did it all start? Like, I'd love to, like, let's talk through a little bit of, like, the pilot and what it means not to be picked up, and then, you know, how you guys all came onto the project.
I think Nancylee should start this.
I know, I'm looking at you, like.
Okay. It started with a pilot. No. I got lucky enough to have really great mentors and producers, and Gail Berman was one, and Laura Ziskin, and Pam Williams. And so when we brought the idea to them, it was groundbreaking. It was like, I'm sorry, you want to do what? Well, it's 2 women who are cops who are also lovers in New Orleans. So they're like, okay, that's a lot to take in. And they said yes, all the way. There was a small conversation about, can't we find a French Quarter somewhere else? And Canada was one of the options as I look at Christina.
I mean, Canada doubles for everything. That's
Yeah.
what I learned.
Not really.
No. Okay, I trust that point, but everybody feels like it doubles for everything.
And it's downtown Vancouver. And it's downtown Vancouver. And it's suburban Vancouver.
I feel like I can tell that when it's New York. New York's my favorite one when they try to make Canada look like New York, and I'm like, no.
Well, it may be an urban legend, but in the 90s, everything that was New York shot in Toronto, which was where I lived at the time, doing a show called FX, set in New York. And there was a big dirty alley street scene where the set deck department had put dumpsters and garbage cans and littered everywhere, and then they broke for lunch, and they came back and it was all gone.
I love Toronto.
some kind people walked by and went, oh no, that won't do. Sorry, we got to clean that up.
If you haven't been to Toronto, it's like one of the cleanest cities in the world.
It's New York run by the Swiss.
Yes! It has amazing street art, it feels like New York, and you're like, but it's clean. Oh, sorry, back to the pilot.
Nikki and Nora.
So we had great producers. Warner Brothers was behind us. CBS was behind us as well, and it was for UPN. So it was sort of CBS, UPN. They're all connected. And the casting is probably for Christina it was probably the hardest part of it because we found Christina first, and then it was a long journey to Miss Vassey.
It all started with a pilot.
That's right.
No, it was really interesting because the whole auditioning experience for Nikki and Nora, I had met the love of my life. I never ever thought I'd get married. I never wanted to get married. I shot a crap movie with Tommy Lee Jones and married the camera operator. We were engaged. I mean, like, I was dressed like a piece of fucking nougat. I'll drop another one. I was dressed like a piece of nougat, and I was playing a Texas Ranger. I had a big hat on, and I don't know. We fell for each other, and we got married 6 months to the day after we met because it was just like, no, I'm gonna lock this shit down. Like, we knew. So then I get this script called Nikki and Nora, and the caveat was that if it went, the short version is when you read for a pilot, you have to sign 5 to 7 years of your life away, so it's not small. Like, you have to sign your contract before you go screen test. So you're giving away potentially 5 to 7 years of your life. And this was going to take place in New Orleans. So I had just been married. Like, I barely knew my husband's middle name. And that's not a lie. It's like, we're 11 months in. Do you want kids? I mean, should we talk about this? So yeah, I get the script, Nikki and Nora, and I'm reading it. It's good, but no, I don't want to move to New Orleans. So no,
So she forces me to read with a bunch of women that we have no chemistry. She's having her honeymoon, and I'm reading with girls who are like, but I really like boys, just so we're clear. God forbid anyone think I'm a good actor.
And that was such a big deal. Like, then the script kept coming to me, and I kept thinking about it because good writing is really hard. She'll attest to this too. It's really hard to find.
And I wouldn't get off her front porch.
Yeah, exactly. And which was a nice touch to our marriage. It was like, look, you married me, you also get her. So
Lucky David.
It's not weird. It's very charming. It's very charming.
I mean, in a single white female sort
No,
of way.
she still does it to this day, which is good. But finally I said, you know what, I gotta go read for this because it's just so good. And so I sat down with Nancylee, and one of the first things that we started talking about, which is what Christina was saying, she said, how do you feel playing a lesbian character? And I was like, yeah. And she said, well, what, how do you feel? I was like, I don't even know how to answer that. Like, I met her and I was like, well, who wouldn't fall in love? Like, I don't have any, like, what am I, new? I mean, and you just, and I think it was great because we all were on exactly the same page. I was saying, I think love is love is love. If I had met a wonderful woman, who's to say? I don't know. There were, like, you just don't know. And I said, I have no issues with this whatsoever. And so they had us do this chemistry read, but everybody was so pent up. They were like, should they kiss in the room? Will Les Moonves like it if they kiss in the room?
Yes.
Yes.
I think
We now know that for a
We
fact.
should have kissed in the room. Yeah.
well, it was also right after Janet Nipplegate. No, it was right after Janet Jackson and Nipplegate. So they were very touchy about what we would do in a chemistry test.
Yeah.
And like, well, guys, it's a chemistry test.
Yeah. Yeah. So we went in naked is the short version. And
I mean, what way to prove that you have chemistry?
right, exactly. And scene. So yeah.
Well, I was actually saying to the ladies lovely ladies I met in my meet and greet this morning, that the 7 layers of Dante's Inferno, which is the testing process, and then getting put on hold while everyone else was let go, and they went back to convincing Liz to come in. We walked in the front doors of CBS and went, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like we hadn't even started reading together yet. We said hi, and Nancylee sort of stepped back, and everybody was just like, well, this is done.
And there was also...
Can we all just go for lunch? Then Les Moonves said, would you like to come up to my office?
I was going to make a naked joke, but it's way too... but it was also
too easy.
Way too bold. It was funny too because, and you didn't know this at the time, but because I really didn't want to move, I also said to my agents, look, if I'm going to be working with whoever's the choice for Nora, like we have to get along. I have to love this woman. So I just, okay, if we don't like each other at this test, like if there's no chemistry, I want to be able to walk out. I want to just, I don't. And so we met and I was like, it's fine. It's totally fine. Because New Orleans is really nice and, beignets are very tasty. And yeah, so it was an absolute immediate thing.
Girl crush.
So let's talk about filming the pilot then. So yes, right away you guys were on board, and how did the filming of the pilot go?
I love that there's silence. It was bad.
It was
really bad.
The chemistry was not there. No, it was a dream shoot. It really was fabulous. We had such a great time. It's a hard city not to have a good time in. And you guys, who said that?
Now we're getting somewhere.
There's more. The bees will come in a minute.
Show more
So first of all, we had an amazing director, John Coles, who's wonderful. He made everything great. It starts at the top. I think your showrunners and your directors really set the tone. And pilots are strange. It was like rocket sled to we're a couple. The cool thing about the pilot was that nobody really knew except their family, so they got to play that duality, and it made it really. I thought it was great. We were all sort of figuring it out while the rest of the world was figuring it out. We're watching it, but New Orleans was really kind to us. We had good weather, unlike this. When we have some sort of bug swarm, termite swarm, when we did second season.
Oh my God.
That was awful, yeah.
Oh, you had me.
So what you never want to do, what you really never want to do is be filming outside at night during termite mating season.
Wait, termites have a mating season?
Oh yes they do.
They like boobies. They like booby warmth.
Yeah.
They like ear canals, they like hair, they like down
Sexy,
the
right?
booties, down the pants, up the pants.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that sounds like, and you're describing a
It
her.
was like our network test. No, but we brought some for you today.
Yes.
So,
I'll put all those now.
Yeah.
That
We
sounds
went
horrific.
back to the hotel and it was like a Silkwood shower.
that was awful. That was awful.
And like wings, just burnt bug wings flowing into the tub.
Okay, but that was second season. That was not the pilot. One of the things that I remember that Liz and Christina did when we first got there, they had a night or two before we started shooting. And so you can tell the story, but they decided to go out in the world and sort of see New Orleans and be a couple. So didn't you go down to Bourbon Street or French Quarter somewhere and go in some bars?
Did. We did it ostensibly just to see what it felt like to go out in the world and be a couple. And I think he wanted to see if we felt alienated in any way. And so we went to a couple bars, actually, several bars. And, as you do. And especially in New Orleans.
Yeah.
And some men came up to talk to us, and we were like, we're a couple. And they're like, So we went, no. And then we told them that we were adopting a child together. And they said, what is the baby's name? And we were like, it is Aniqua Mau Mau. Our baby's name is Aniqua Mau Mau.
And they asked us our names, and I said Liz, and she said Taylor.
Liz Taylor, we're like, we've never noticed that.
tissue. And I believe one of Liz's occupations, because of course it devolved into what the occupations were. They all assumed that I was a cop. And that went over okay. Then we were freelance
Cheese cutters.
Cheese cutters.
Yeah.
Wait, freelance cheese
Well,
cutters.
because if you're gonna be a cheese cutter, you gotta be freelance in today's economy, right? Like you don't want to be tied down. Cheese corporations. I hate big cheese.
I mean, don't we all?
Yeah. Seriously.
So clearly the test went well.
Yeah. It was a dream. The entire shoot was.
Yeah, and then for me personally, it started a love affair with New Orleans. That if I could find any and everything to shoot New Orleans, I would do it in a heartbeat. It's just as a Canadian and as a Canadian of Caribbean descent, it has a feeling for me that's very familiar of not a
Swamp?
not a tossed salad, but a real melting pot. And it has that Indo-Caribbean flair that I don't find in any other American city. And being such a mix myself because of my family and you know where we grew up and where my mom's from and all that, it really felt like home. Like there's only a couple places in America where I feel when I get off the airplane I go, and that was like I'm home.
Until the humidity hits.
And the termites.
And my hair exploded.
Yeah. And the booby termites.
And then you realize if you're going to be there through the summer, if you want to go for a run, you have to do it at 4 o'clock in the morning. Or it's like this.
Yeah. Actually, it was pretty. When it got humid, we would barely fit in the same shot because the hair would just get bigger and bigger. It was like
a lot of wide shots.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of hair between the two of us. Yeah, a lot of buns. A lot of top of the head buns.
So I'd love to know, I mean, the pilot wasn't picked up, which was a huge blow.
It wasn't?
No, it wasn't. I'm sorry to break the news to you. But it lived on through the internet. And what was that like discovering that there was this it leaked onto the internet and it became a secret fandom?
Yeah, well, God bless the person who found it and leaked it to the YouTube. Back when no one knew what the YouTube was. And now there's people unwrapping Kinder eggs and making $15 million a year.
Fun fact, because I work at the YouTubes, I do. That type of videos, totally derailing the conversation, but it's a fun fact. Unboxing videos is the most profitable type of videos you can do on YouTube.
Interesting. Not freelance cheese cutting.
No.
Because I actually heard that people love to watch that.
Hey, if you had a really nice set of the ones where you can scrape it and you get the really thin curl,
Hey,
I bet you could.
I think we should talk about the cheese.
I can tell you that there is no creators doing that right now. So
you know, in all seriousness about the web series, we've all talked about this at great length. The thing that really pissed us all off when that was leaked onto the YouTube by somebody, we don't know who. The thing is, for an entire community to watch a pilot that wasn't picked up, to see themselves on camera, pissed all of us off because, and I mean in a good way and in a supportive way, because it was like, this shouldn't be that hard to see yourselves on camera. And so we wanted to go back and do the web series for the community primarily because we thought, you know, we're all obviously allies, particularly during these fucking troubled times. And, but, you know, we wanted to, we talked about this also about so many shows had subtext of lesbian couples. And it was like, screw the subtext, we want to be text. Like, we want to put it out there. And we owe this to Nancylee because she wrote this character and this character and made it a couple that happened to be a lesbian couple, but they were a loving couple. And we talked about this morning in our group. It's all about normalization. It's all about putting out there and showing people there's nothing to be scared of. And I'm preaching to the choir, but this is why we wanted to do it as a love song to the community.
And I think that's why it worked for us as actors and as, regardless of our orientation, because that's our perspective on the way we choose our roles, it was never a thing. There was never an elephant in the, am I going to do this because this character's gay? I don't know if I should do this, it might be bad for my career. It was like, no, I fucking love this writing, and I love this person, and this person just happens to be in love with this person who also happens to have the same equipment. Big fucking deal.
can you say that a little louder for the video camera to make sure that everyone else hears that in the world? I love that approach. That's a meetings?
Well, it boggled the mind how many other people we watched, or for me during the multi-layered audition process, I felt like actresses were coming into the waiting room and going, they made sure in the waiting room, my boyfriend is coming to pick me up after this. We're engaged, and I love cock.
Right on the t-shirt. Like they were there, I love
They
cock.
might as well have been on
Yeah.
there. Just so you're all clear.
Well, it was
Just
amazing
in case.
too. And like after I did the pilot, people would ask questions and they would say, so, you know, are you? And it was sort of funny because it was, first of all, I won't answer because I feel like any answer makes it seem like there's anything wrong with it, which there's not. So it's like, it's none of your business, really. So, but also, nobody ever came up to me after CSI and they were like, do you really do DNA? Do you really know how to do DNA reports? And so it's like, why is this
Super
a
sexy,
thing?
too.
You know, which by the way, I do.
But I love that. It shouldn't be a thing.
No.
Like, a good character is a good character.
Yeah.
And that's just one facet of who they are. So it always blows my mind when people are like, no, really, I'm straight. And I'm like, okay, that's great. Well, if you play a straight role, are we, you know, people are asking, oh, are you really straight? Like, no.
Yeah,
Of course
we
not.
don't.
It's not a question.
It's the volume of assumptions is really astounding.
Yeah. We're just happy we're a loving couple for a little baby and equal Mel. You know, I mean, we're just.
And I know I'll never run out of cheese.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish I could have gone to the wedding of Liz and Taylor.
Oh my God, we're so drunk.
All I remember was there was a very little bar and a very little cottage with a very big piano. And I remember the ceiling feeling very close, I felt very tall. And I was like, what else did I have today? Very strange. And then we made the mistake of saying we were in banking, and of course the guys were in banking. And then we changed it, we worked for SmithKline Beecham. And then they were like, oh yeah, really? Well, Beecham was dropped 2 years ago.
We said we worked, past tense. Why aren't
We're
you
unemployed, way to rub it in, asshole!
I think we finally said that we bagged groceries at Gelson's, which I think was like, because then there's nothing they can ask back. Like, what did you bag today? Bananas? Like, it's a conversational suicide. So it was kind of great. We were like, that is how you end it. We bag groceries. Liz and Taylor bag groceries, and we hope that we can scrimp and save to raise an equal Mal. Stop talking to us.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want to see the pilot of that.
We call it termites, just because.
With an exclamation point, right?
Yeah,
The
it's
swarm.
a musical, so yeah.
Okay, so back to the web series. I'd love to know, what was the process of bringing it back to life? Almost a decade later, right?
You guys wouldn't stop asking.
Yeah. That's exactly it. Well, first of all, we found out that it got leaked when I got called by a guy who I really like, Eric. I probably shouldn't. I think he's here. Is he here? No. Okay. He was hosting a podcast and talking to Nikki Nora fanfic writers, and he called me or contacted me, and he's like, we'd love to know more about Nikki Nora. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? Who are you? What are you talking about? And he told me there was thousands and thousands and thousands of pages of fan fiction for Nikki and Nora. I'm like, oh, that's great. So then when we started, and he said, are you going to have another one? We said, yeah, we're going to try to do a web series. And he said, okay, they have some questions for you about what's happening from those 10 years that we haven't seen them. I'm like, well, I imagine your child's 10 years old now, but.
Well, she's in 5th grade. We're very proud. Very, very proud.
But it was really fascinating because the questions were really specific, and some of you I think are here that were part of that. But it was, they wanted to know, one of the questions they wanted to know was, what happened to the El Camino? The one that we had to push in the scene every time. That one, yeah. I said, the flood. The flood was always my answer. After Katrina, I was like, the flood. And do they have children? And sadly, we lost the actor that played Bobby, so we had to sort of decide what did that look like, and the storm also was a part of that for the storyline. And at least we got to talk about him and give him some love. So it was the fanfic writers that brought the show back. Absolutely, I didn't even know it was happening, and I'm sure you guys have some great stuff. I haven't read it. I'm not allowed to read it.
Does everyone know that, by the way? I feel like that's an industry secret that most people don't realize. Is actually a lot of industry people love fan fiction, but they're not allowed to read the fan fiction of their actual
About their show.
Like it's actually legally you're not supposed to because it is a suable action.
Well,
just food for thought for anyone of like, oh my god, I love you. Have you read my fan fiction?
Right.
They're not actually allowed to read your fan fiction, but most of them won't admit to it. But they are all fanfic lovers.
Oh yeah.
and
But
lovers.
Christina and I have read all of them, and we act them out. we rented a little black box theater, and yeah. So just
At a bar,
FYI, too. Yeah, at a bar.
The reason that started was that I guess there were some episodes of television that were had storylines that were similar to fan fiction. And so it was going the other way around. It was like the fanfic writers were saying that we took their stuff and put it on TV. So it was the lawsuit was going the other way.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's like, that's my story.
I didn't realize that was.
Yeah, there was like no sort of copyright on it, so we just don't read it.
That's exactly.
I mean, I could read somebody else's show, but.
Yeah, no, I knew that there was.
Not to say ever stop writing fanfic, because
No.
as we know, it can evolve into a book series, Shadowhunters, and then end up, another great LGBTQ positive show that I've been lucky enough to be a part of, and that started as a spin-off of a Harry Potter fanfic, and she turned it into a series of books that's turned into a television series that has been groundbreaking in its own right. Great ideas are great ideas, and they'll find their home. And I think one of the things that we battled with, we were talking about this in the mini chat session this morning, is that there might have been another home for us, but at the time, there were some executives that were feeling particularly butthurt about their shows that they dropped getting picked up by
Did you say
networks.
butthurt?
I love that
That's my
term.
new word today. I like it. I'm going to stop. I promise I won't swear jar. They felt really that it affected their ego so much when the show got picked up by another network and did well, that even if we had another home somewhere else, they weren't going to let it go, which is it seems like a really sad way to lose a great show. And it was also during the time when Bush was being reelected for no gay marriage, and timing was not in our favor. But it doesn't. The fact that it managed to surface and succeed to the extent it did. Find me 5 other pilots that have done this. Pilots usually end up on a back shelf somewhere. No one ever sees them. I'm personally for a pilot week where they air all of them, and like American Idol, y'all vote for.
They've talked about that. They've actually talked about doing that. Because the problem is, my friend calls them $5 million photo, like their photo guys, like their photo books. I mean, basically, they make you spend all this money doing these pilots. I did 10 in a row that weren't picked up. And you go, God, it's so much of your life. And then they don't then retroactively go back the next year and go, was the one that we did last year better than some of the ones that are in consideration this year? And sometimes they really are, and they just sort of die. So we're so grateful that we got to come back to life and that we got to do this again. It's because of you guys.
It is, and it's because we actually made DVDs and VCRs to send out to other networks when they thought we would be able to shop it somewhere else. And I know that's how it got out on the internet, is that some fabulous gay person sitting behind a desk, it came across their desk and they went,
Actually, it was an equal Mau. She's a little scam. I mean, she saw it, she loved it.
Very bright.
Yeah, very bright, very computer savvy. Also, she cuts cheese as well. But we talk too much about her.
Lactose intolerant.
Yeah.
You can show photos later, right? Well, let's talk about bringing the web series back and like the actual process of, readdressing the characters almost a decade later. And how was it like coming back into those roles and getting a chance to breathe life into them again?
From the beginning, we all talked about how we wanted it to be realistic. We've all been in long-term relationships, and we all talked about it and said, look, these are 2 people who are madly in love, and 10 years later, the relationship will look different. Not better or worse, but different. And we want to show that this love is just as strong as it's ever been through the storm, through loss. We also, not to bring the room down a little bit, but we all had been through a lot in that time. We all gone through, life, like everybody goes through a lot in a decade. And so we wanted to bring some of that in, and we wanted to make it as realistic as possible, as respectful of long-term relationships as possible. And we wanted to show people, again, that it doesn't matter that it's a lesbian relationship. It's a long-term relationship and things change. And we wanted to express that honestly. And we also wanted to honor New Orleans and the storm. It was a very big part of it as well. So that's something we all agreed on. We just wanted to bring all of that to the web series.
So I would love to turn it over and let you guys ask a couple questions if you guys are cool with that. Yeah? We don't have a line, so just raise your hand. Yes, right back there.
Hood slides.
She doesn't do it, we just call her that. No, she doesn't.
Inside joke. Everything I've done from the time I was little was always really physical, so I don't know that the martial arts has been helpful when there's been fight choreography, for sure, because I did Muay Thai and I boxed and all that. And no, I was not Hilary Swank's fight double. For the last goddamn time. I'm a mover, so it ends up being part of the way that I work, and it comes in very handy. And frankly, I'd like to see strong women over the age of 24 in a lot more action type scenarios. I think if Kevin Costner and Liam Neeson can be running all over Europe kicking ass, why can't women of our...
Yeah, because we wouldn't lose our daughter like that, like 5 seconds. I mean, take care of your fucking daughter, Liam Neeson.
Or if you're an international man of mystery, put fucking LoJack in her. My God.
See, women wouldn't fuck this shit up.
No.
Of course, we also wouldn't get the sequels.
Yeah, that's why the movie wouldn't exist.
You wouldn't come home and find your husband washing the baby with dish soap. Needless to say. So yeah, I mean, I love all of that. I think the real window of those sort of martial arts based movies was the 90s. It's evolved a lot since then, and it's always been really fun. And my daughter is now sort of coming of an age. She's like, "Mommy, you mean you really got to kick people?" Sometimes for pay.
Bathtub scene. I may have just said that because I hear it's a favorite. No, you know what? I'm not just saying that because I hear it's a favorite. It actually, our set designer was amazing. The set was beautiful. Now, little story about that scene.
Does it involve termites?
No, it involves dog food. We like to bathe in dog. No. Well,
I have apologized for this my entire life for you guys.
First of all, we agree. It looks sexy. The scene is sexy, right? It's a sultry, sexy
The whole
scene.
set was
Every audition I went into for the next 2 years. Oh, how about that bathtub scene?
Yeah. Again, like, how about those vampires? No, just the bathtub scene. But so anyway, we were shooting this in the bathtub. Now I was in that bathtub for, I'm gonna say 6 hours, but I might be underplaying it. And the water would get a little bit cold, and so they kept pouring in some warmer water. Then they put in the bubbles, and we had this we had this prop woman who would come in, and she wanted the bubbles to be up covering all the naughty bits.
And condensed milk powder to make the water opaque.
So I'm already sitting in tepid water that's cold,
shaving cream.
and it's shaving cream
For
and bubbles, and then she would come in periodically and say nothing to me. She'd just come in and go, bubbles, 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 very angrily. And then they'd go action, and I'm like, I'm sexy. And so between all of that and the bubbles, 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 then Nancylee's like, you know what would be great? Is if the dog could take a sip of the water. And we were like, okay, so what is that going to entail? So they put dog food in the side of the bathtub.
That wasn't my idea. It wasn't.
You rode the dog.
All of this was your idea. So the dog food, it didn't stick, it would slide. So
Into the
Yes. So it was shaving cream, tepid water, dog food, bubbles. And then as I've been sitting in there steeping in all of this for 6 to 8 hours, we finally get to the part where I say, why don't you use 14 hours? I say, do you want to get in here with me? And poor Christina, you can just see, no. No, I do not.
Well, we had a slight wardrobe oversight. There was only one pair of nude panties that I had on. Once you go in the tub, those panties are now wet.
Yeah,
You're screwed.
and covered in dog food bubbles and shaving cream, so.
And they were very fragrant.
Yeah.
And then it was like, well, oh God, we have to do this again. You gotta get back out of the tub. You gotta get back into the tub, out of the tub, into the tub. And, but Liz was just a champ about it. I think I might have been a total whiny.
Well, she had to get in water that was basically Liz dog food and shaving cream soup, which I can assure you is pretty damn bad. So we actually had a great time shooting it, just because there's a point when stuff gets so disgusting and so surreal.
It was
that
hilarious.
You cannot stop laughing. And by the last time that she bubbles, the two of us were like, so PTSD.
I've never had a bubble bath since.
Seriously?
FYI.
For a while, it is like the silence of the bubbles. Like late at night, I can still hear her screaming. So that was a great scene, and we really love it. But it was entirely the antithesis of everything.
And that location was a real house on Royal Street that was under renovation, but it the sets were the city writes itself. Some of it, the room was so gorgeous.
thunderstorm. Cue the thunderstorm.
And then it started to pour like sheets,
And it was
of thunder
gorgeous.
and lightning, which drove the cockroaches in through the windows.
I forgot about that.
So you
They
were
were like,
holy, you were scarred for life shooting guys.
Well, and we thought,
Really
well,
selling
this
the
is
royalties
being,
here,
this is
too,
being in
let me
the
tell
film
you.
industry, right? Like, and when we went back to do a web series, we thought, what could be worse? And God said termites.
Termites fucking.
Booby termites.
Do you want to know what they do? So they fly around in this big swarm en masse, and while everyone else was like, "Holy crap, go inside!" we're like, "Let's film something." Yeah. They smash into each other. They join up, and then theoretically they're supposed to go to the ground and burrow into the earth and make some little termite babies. Yeah, so they would smash into each other and then go in our hair.
Yeah. Or in our boob
In
sweat.
case you were curious about how termite babies come to pass.
So sometimes things aren't as sexy as they look on screen. Is basically what we're getting at.
Not to burst any bubbles.
Excellent.
Nicely done.
Call back.
Oh my god. But actually the whole pilot was it was a joy. I mean, we had a wonderful time all the way around. Even with dog food.
How often do you get to run through a Mardi Gras parade down like bananas?
Yeah.
Dream job.
Yeah.
Actually, that goes into one of my questions about running. And there's a scene, I think it's in the web series, where you two have to go onto a boat to look for a suspect or arrest a guy. And Christina, you end up chasing after this guy across the docks, across the boat.
Oh, yeah.
And dive into the water.
Yeah.
Catch him. And you're doing it in heels.
That's every actress forever.
Yeah.
Was that you?
It's me for a large portion of it. My boobs have still not recovered.
Your boots? Or
My boobs. Yes.
I heard the same thing. I was like, I don't get that.
But because a lovely, very talented stunt lady came in, I think I was perhaps described as being in very good shape, like being kind of cut or whatever at the time, because I'd been training for Chronicles of Riddick. And this lady was very cut. She was also about a foot taller than me. I think she was a WWE wrestler. And so the side-by-side comparison was not necessarily the same. And you could see little cuts. I could see people's stride is like their footprint. And there were little moments where you could see that it wasn't me, but the biggest issue was that at the end of that chase, Nora had to jump into the bayou. And there was really no safe way for me to jump in the bayou.
She would have done it, by the way, but you have to sign an insurance waiver when you do pilots, and so
yeah, I would have done all of it, and I would love
insurance would not have
let me dive headlong into the bayou. So this very lovely lady, she did it for me, which is why I'm always eternally grateful to the stunt people who work so hard and put themselves at risk for us, because you know, we like to think that we can do it because we're actors. Fly plane? Yeah, I can pick that up on the weekend. But there's some stuff we just shouldn't.
So now we hire them to do everything, like breakups, act, you know, yeah, like everything. I just have them do everything.
I actually sound so much like my sisters, I have broken up for them.
Oh, that's good. I like that. I like that a lot.
Interesting side gig.
Yeah, but if you're mad at your sister, you should be like, I want to marry you.
Come over right now, I'm ready for you, big boy. Keys under the mat.
Oh my God, you can have so much. I really like when men dressed up like stuffed animals.
There's some adult diapers under the sink. Put them on and meet me in the cabana.
Oh, yeah, you gotta think about that next time.
Wasted a lot of time. You could really be doing that.
So we've seen the characters' 10 years relationship in the movie. What do you guys want to see in 20 years?
Good question.
Walking without assistance?
In general, a woman in the White House. I would like to in 20 years. If we did another one of these in 20 years, I would like nothing about it to be shocking. I would like to be talking at a con about just playing a couple. I would like people not to come up and go, so are you? I would just like it to be normal, fucking normal. Yeah, I'd like a lot to change in 20 years. Don't forget to vote, kids. Don't forget to vote.
This is more of a maybe, because my wife and I have actually been together 20 years this October.
Congratulations.
I was to say the web series, the first time that I saw a couple, a very good say was a couple that have been together for that long and had that very relationship. It was just hilarious. The little moments that you guys have together, it literally felt like you, oh yeah.
Well, we're method actors. We lived together for 10 years. A lot of people.
I never left the front porch.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we felt we needed to commit to. So, you know, that was all stone cold, real nitpick that you saw. Yeah, thanks. And congratulations, 20 years. That's fantastic. You get a Mardi Gras cup. Here.
Well, you know, we're going to find another couple and we'll do Nikki and Nora meets the Golden Girls or something. We'll all move into a retirement home
And then be sure and watch Termites, which will be coming on. We aren't sure we're shopping it around, but it's about, you know, a couple of freelance
It's a
cheese
slide.
fighters. Yeah, with our baby. Yeah, we're excited about that one. So, good time. No, we're gonna sell it.
Anika Mama's going to produce.
Yeah, totally. What is she, 14 now? She is very advanced. Yeah. You know, you do these pilots and you fall in love with them because I don't think you can be good at all unless you put some of your heart in them. So all of them, you know, like I really wanted all of them to go. I did a pilot the year before I did Nikki and Nora called Partners, where I was playing a cop, and it was just a really well-written pilot, and I absolutely loved it. And they had me train with a Mr. World to get ready and in physical shape for this, which was astonishing. Like I knocked on his door, and the guy answers, he's like, hello? And his neck was bigger than my waist. I was like, oh man! And I got to box and I got to do all sorts of stuff. It was a physical transformation for me because before that I'd done the tick. And it was, they wanted me to be in cop shape. And so I got to have a really good time doing that. No, most of my shows that I miss went for 6 episodes. They don't tell you, like, you shoot a pilot and they pick it up for 13 episodes, but they only are contractually obligated to have you do 6 plus the pilot, and then they can just cut it. So I did shows that I was drawn to, artistically speaking, and I'm very proud of them, and I think some of them were exceptionally well written. And it's
Maximum Bob.
Yeah, Maximum Bob was just like, it was on so many years ago. Thank you. That was my favorite thing. John Coles came and directed one of those too, and Barry Sonnenfeld did the pilot, and on paper it seemed like it should go forever, and it went for 6. Those are the ones that are really heartbreaking because you start to create a family with people. Most of a pilot experience, to be perfectly blunt, you're hoping you don't get canned. I mean, you really are. Like, the network watches dailies every night, and they give notes like, is her hair lighter in this scene than it was last night? And you're like, wow, I was crying during that scene. Like, it would be nice if you noticed my acting. But you just hope that you don't. You're hoping you don't get canned. Pilots they're a mixed bag. There's a lot of money riding on you, and you just hope you get out and have a job intact. Ladies and gentlemen, Nikki Nora now. I wanted to save the reveal. Thank you. I mean, this is why.
I think there's something I think about cool, uncomfortably cool liquids, because better than chocolate, we had the body painting. And then let's take the sexy right out of that story. We were in a community center in Vancouver because we needed a big area where they could roll out the tarps. We had to do test paints because it turns out if you put a tarp on the floor and then you cover your body in non-toxic paints, which had to be temper paints, which mean they dry, so you have to get misted down every 5 seconds with a garden sprayer.
So sexy.
And then you roll on the floor, on a regular floor, do you know what you get? Butt cheeks boobs, butt cheeks boobs, butt cheeks boobs. So we actually had to create a big padded, like wrestling mat kind of thing in order to get enough body print to come off of us and onto the canvases.
You were just your own gift. That was great. Butt cheeks boobs, butt cheeks boobs, butt cheeks boobs. And surprisingly catchy. Like, that's gonna be in my head, right?
But really, when you see them afterwards, it's kind of indistinguishable. It just looks like 2 polka dots, 2 polka dots, 2 polka dots, 2 polka dots.
Because inside we're all the same. No.
It's the great equalizer.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. Oh.
Well, thank your son too, because we need boys to be saying that this is a good thing. So. Yeah, even if you're a freelance cheese cutter, we know. I actually love the show The Fosters and the spinoff. Nancylee and I know a couple of the people behind that, and I started watching it to actually just because I liked Peter Page, to be perfectly, like I've known Peter for years, and so I started watching it, and then I got hooked, and then I was like, oh my god, I actually care what's happening to Mariana in high school, I can't believe it. But one of the things that I've said to him is that I just love how absolutely normal that family is, and I think that's invaluable, and I think things are changing for the better, slowly. Kids, remember to vote. But I think that, you know, that wouldn't happen 10 years ago. Like, it's great to see that. It's great.
I'm gonna write that show.
You do? Dude, you look good. Nicely done. We'll talk after. Yeah. Yeah.
I think we have a question over here.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure, my joy to do that. You can tell, right, when I'm in the room. I really like it. I want you all to win. You mean other than Nikki and Nora? That set the bar really high for me. Well, you know, here's the thing we talked about the other day. It's so true. Is I've been paid to write 37 pilots. I got 3 of them shot, 1 of them on the air for 6 episodes and out. So for me, they're always my dream project. You know, everything that I sit down and I care about writing, that's the one I'm invested in, and that's the one I want. But when it happens, it's glorious. So it's hard to sort of top that experience by just saying what's your dream project, because right now I have 6 of them that I would just, all of them I want to go. They're all my babies and I want them all to be fantastic.
It's pretty impossible to write anything and not have your heart in it, I think, because
You can't just be crap.
you get a lot of that on TV. Well, I've been in a lot of those. I think that someone like Nancylee is incapable of writing something that she doesn't pour all of her heart and soul into, so all of those are babies, right? If you write because I'm going to follow this format because the overseas buyers want this, and we'll put this guy in it because he's got X amount of Instagram followers and X amount of Twitter followers, and this will be successful, it usually sucks because it's the wrong way to come at it. But because everyone is so unique and we all have our own stories and our own voices, if you really dig down and find out what your story is, what your point of view is, then you have a unique offering and you have a unique story to tell. It's when you try and go outside of yourself and please the buyers or this group of the they. And it happens in auditions too. When you get an audition, you think, what do they want? Who fucking cares? What do you want?
I'll tell you this, all of my shows are women. They're all, every single, you read all my pilots. Everybody's in the front. The stars are women at the front. It's their conflict, it's their comedy, it's their family, it's their show, it's their story.
But I mean, don't you feel sorry for the white man? I mean, really, isn't it? I mean, what's going to happen to the white man? It's such a hard time for the white man.
Sorry for them in this room.
Yeah, no shit.
Smallest violin comes out.
Sorry for them in this room.
Well, I think that's, we got one more question. I'll give one more.
I was just wondering, I know that I see you a lot of sci-fi related to Defying Gravity, all that stuff, supernatural stuff, and also you've both done a lot of very different genres. So is there something that you haven't tried yet? Done, I don't know, this kind of thing.
Termites.
The world that I don't get to play in is period pieces. Partially because of my voice, and partially because of being ethnically diverse. I don't look like a certain era, and that's been something I've come up against from the very first audition I ever had. Bring. Hey, we really want to hire Christina, but what's her blood? We're
Red.
pretty sure. Yes, and that's what my aunt said. We're pretty sure it's red. Yeah, but is she Italian? Because they. Well, but in the future, everyone will be beige. And so that's one. I'm being totally blunt. That's one of the reasons why I'm in things that, or why I will get cast in things that are set in future tense. Because they can't look at me and go, oh, you look Irish. Oh, you look like a German girl, you know, or whatever, right? So when you're talking about things that are in the past tense, that's not a place I get to play much. And ironically, I went to a classical theater school. I'm classically trained. I actually can handle the Shakespeare. But unless it's been modernized, it's not going to happen.
Well, I recently got to play a giant lobster on the reboot of The Tick, so I never really thought that
went off your bucket list.
Yeah, I never really thought
Sounds
that
like a
would
career
happen. So that's been an exceptional experience. I'm not acting as much as I'm writing anymore. Like I have sort of segued. They let me write an episode in my last season on CSI, and I found the whole experience transformative. I started acting when I was 9, and I think it is sort of a logical progression. I don't do a lot of the same things I did when I was 9, so I hit an age, 40, and I'm starting to see a lot of scripts. For me, I've done a lot of sitcoms, and I've done a lot of comedy, and I was starting to get a lot of, I was saying this morning, sitcom moms. And one of them, I actually was supposed to say the line to my husband, "Thank you for letting me go back to work while you watch the kids." And I said, wow, this is like the best sitcom of 1987. Like, why is this a thing? And I started writing pilots, and I started selling pilots, and I've been fortunate
She's
enough.
a really good writer.
Thank you, that means a lot. And I started selling pilots, and the next goal is obviously to get them to stick. But for me personally, like that is my quest. I want to change the way that women are treated on screen. I want to change the way LGBTQ people are treated on screen, and that's something that's been in each one of my scripts. So for me personally, it's just been a really wonderful journey. So I'm not looking for roles for me to play so much as roles that I want to see on TV. Like, you know, I'm going to write a period piece for Christina Cox, if you've heard of her. Yeah. It's French. It's called Les Termites, and it's really exciting. So
What ho, mighty termites on yonder hillside break.
I've been working it out for like 5 seconds now, and I think it's almost there.
You got it.
Yeah, there will be a lot of cheese.
Euphemism for nothing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much. This has been amazing, wonderful.